down memory lane. We're going to get in our TARDIS. We're going to wind it up, and we're going to go down memory lane to the Bundy Ranch. Oath Keepers founder Steward Rhodes told a gathering of constitutional sheriffs last month, which also features Representative Stockman of Texas. Federal officials eventually backed down in their standoff at Bundy Ranch earlier this year because they knew that if they didn't, the U.S. military would turn against them and the federal government, igniting a second civil war.
You feds out there, don't think that the guys who just got out are much different than the guys who are still in. They're of the same mindset. And this is the politicians and your would-be dictators in Washington, D.C. This is what they're worried about, and they should be worried about it. They have to worry that if they go too hard, they drop the hammer too blatantly on Americans like at Bundy Ranch, that the Marine Corps will flip on them, and I think it would. And same goes for the close to the tip of the spear in the Army, Army Airborne, your Special Forces, your Navy SEALs, all those groups out there. The more hardcore they are as warriors, the more likely they are to look at something like that and say, "That's it, I'm done," and join the resistance. And so that's why they are careful about what they do. It's not out of charity or concern for your lives that they don't drop the hammer. As we found out later on, they were actually considering a military strike at Bundy Ranch. Can you believe that? Washington Times reported it. They were considering using military force at Bundy Ranch. Thankfully, they did not. Because if they had, that would have kicked off a civil war in this country.
Okay, would have kicked off. See, they're peaceful. They're peaceful Christians, right? They always go on this meme of they're peaceful Christians. It's the Muslims. It's the angry Muslims who are the crazy ones. And Haven, are you gonna join up? Are you gonna be all with the Bundy Ranch, the wandering crowd?
Fuck no. And I don't look. This asshole said, "Don't think that the guys who got out are different from the guys who are still in." Usually, when assholes like that get out, it's because they got kicked out. Because the military does not allow for ignorant, stupid shit like that. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of service members who are very conservative, who don't agree with President Obama at all. Some of them are racist service members. We try to weed that out, but it happens. Some of them legitimately have their reasons against whatever Obama's doing. But it's like, when you join, people don't understand why people join the military usually. Either you're doing it because you supposedly love your country, or you're doing it because you want free schooling, or you're doing it because you need a fucking job. Nowhere in that is sedition and overturning a fucking government. Like, nobody does that. Nobody has that real mentality. And even if they do, they get kicked the fuck out because those assholes never know how to keep their mouth shut long enough to finish their fucking All right, I gotta bring it down.
Yeah, you bring it down, Haven, because you're getting angry, and I love that angry, but we need it for the angry Muslim. and by the way, I want to point out that this guy is the one with the tinfoil hat, and usually when they get kicked out, like you were saying, Haven, this is where they go to, the Oath Keepers. This is where they end up. The vast majority of them are groups like this, the militias. So the tinfoil hat boy. Chill the hell out.
Hey, fuck you, dude. You think Cliven Bundy is where the military would fucking have some pause and be like, wow, that's fucked up? No, how about the shit that's going on in Ferguson? Or how about the shit that's going on all over this fucking country where we can see that our fellow citizens are getting their fucking rights trampled on? That's what a lot of military members notice. We notice how cops treat people like shit because sometimes they treat military members like shit. And it's like, come on, man. Like, we're not your toys. We're not your pawns. Sure, there may be some crazy fucking service members that are out there who agree with this asshole, but I guarantee you they're not the majority. Because all we want to do is fucking work for our country, get our paycheck, go get our education, and better ourselves and better our lives. That's what a military member's goal is to do right by their country, better themselves, and do right by their family. That is it. None of that fucking overturning governments and all this other stupid fucking ignorant crazy shit. Like, it's so aggravating. And I wish like hell that these right-wing people would leave military members out of it. You so worried about us. How about you fucking volunteer to make sure that we get our fucking service members who don't have legs and all that shit and have sacrifice? How about you take care of them? How about you focus on them instead of trying to get us to fight your stupid fucking fight for you, you bastard.
Right? No, you're absolutely right. And I've told you this off air. I'm not, and I said it on Some Say with Dominicky. If I didn't have my heart condition, man, I would have volunteered for the Navy in a heartbeat. As a kid, all I wanted to do was be on the USS Enterprise. So that was the closest. I was a dork, man. So I hear you. So thank you, and thank you to our service members. And most of the normal without the tinfoil hat and Alex Jones lovers know that this is not how our military is. Lucy, take the floor, my darling.
I don't know. I always thought that if a service member turned against their country in such a way that this guy's talking about, they would be considered treasonous. And I do believe that there's an amendment in the Constitution that says if you're treasonous, that's punishable by death. Sorry, boo. Espionage, treason, I would be that prosecutor who'd be like, well, you tried to take over the government, maybe for another government. It was maybe espionage, and you're maybe going to get punished with your life. It's just so crazy. Honestly, I think what Clive and Bundy did was treason. I really do. I still am shitty that he's not been sent to Gitmo and tortured and rectally fed. I don't agree with it, but hey, apparently that's okay according to the U.S. government and everybody else, so...
Yeah, hey. Lucy, you're right. Hey, maybe Brian Fisher can finally answer Tom Hartman's question. Who would Jesus torture? Clive and Bundy. I'm just wondering. I'm not throwing that. I'm not saying do it. I'm just wondering. I'm a wondering white guy here. I'm a wondering honky.
No. Listen, and don't take me wrong. Don't torture anybody. But if we're going to start torturing people, why don't we torture people that we know have actually just tried to actually commit acts of treason by holding AK-47s at our federal officials and say, hey, we're going to shoot your women first if you don't give me back my fucking cows. Jesus fucking Christ. Come on, people. Do you not see? If they were brown, they would have been shot. If they were black or they were brown.
Oh, hell yeah. You're exactly right. And
No. It would be like Waco. It'd be like another, it would just be like, we'd be like, oh, Bundy Ranch, and we'd associate it with something like Waco. But we don't, because they were white old Republicans who had AK-47s and a bunch of automatic weapons and paramilitia people, and they were trying to take over the government, and they don't even recognize the federal government. Am I the only person who does not see them as a possible terrorist threat? Weren't they stopping cars? Weren't they stopping Americans and asking them and telling them, hey, you're not from around here, you're not allowed to drive on our public roads?
No, you're exactly right. And when Harry Reid called him out as a terrorist threat, he got called out by the right-wing crazies. And that should have also been called out as treason. And you're exactly right, Lucy.
I just also wanted to point out that in the military, there's this thing called the UCMJ, which is Uniform Code of Military Justice. And I can guarantee you, there is definitely an article in there that covers sedition and going against your government. That is illegal in the military. In addition to that, I guarantee you, Navy SEALs, those Marines, nobody in the military service community holds the core values of the military like those guys. Those guys are hardcore, not fucking around about their country. Because if they weren't, they wouldn't be fucking Navy SEALs. They wouldn't be those infantrymen. Those guys are about being American. And to tarnish them and to say, hey, of course they would fucking come on our side and totally just start a civil war because, hey, they're those badass Navy people that we jerk off to at night. Of course they would be on our side. That's bullshit, and it's ignorant, and it's it does a disservice to those guys because they legitimately are about protecting their country. That's why they joined to be SEALs. People don't understand how hardcore and about that life you have to be a Navy fucking SEAL. And they would never do some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? At the very worst, maybe some of them will go to Blackwater. Maybe. But for the most part, they're not going to be these fucking military Minutemen fucking running around here because they live that life. They're not fucked up in the head. They've already done it. And it's hilarious that it's the people who can't make it into the military that have this fucking fetish over what the SEALs and everything do. And a lot of SEALs don't brag about their job. They don't brag about what they want to do and what they had to do for this country. They don't even fucking talk about it. But you have these fucking asinine dick riders ripping and running around here trying to ride on the coattails of our service members who fucking put their lives on the line. And it's like, fuck you, bro. Fuck you. Fuck you and everything that you fucking believe in.